How's it going, everybody? It's time to cure your cosmic crucible woes with the number one player in the world, Ska from Allspark Renegades, and he's not number one by a small margin. He's up by about 110 victory points on the next person, which is no small feat because you start getting less and less trophies. That's gonna have you undefeated for like a couple weeks now, at least, right, Ska?
I think I've not been beaten in a season, so it's pretty much like I think 4 or 5 weeks now.
Yeah, I hate you. All right, so let's go. You got some good advice because there's a very problematic in Crucible right now, right? And that is the Odin Illuminati team. And you reached out to me because you wanted to make this video, as we've seen a lot of people just basically getting Odin Illuminati fatigue and just kind of crashing the Crucible. A lot of my friends, even myself last week, I just didn't want to deal with it, so I didn't do my Crucible battles. And you've noticed that trend happen in the community too, right?
I've noticed it for quite a while now, almost a month now, where people will just see what they would say or type in chat where they'll say Illuminati Odin, oh, another annoying team, makes CC very boring to play, blah blah, or they won't even try to clear it. Sometimes they'll just play it as if it's 5 rooms.
Yeah.
Also, not the best thing you want to happen in your game. So I kind of just wanted to share some of my experience and what I found to have worked against this team.
Perfect. So let's jump right into that because you did give me a lot of nice breakdowns for this. Starting with the setup. So we got two teams in here and we got some goals. And this is our first sack attack. As if you don't know what a sack attack is, this is an attack. We're going to go in, we're going to pull some abilities. We're going to either let it time out or we're going to die, whatever the case may be. But we're not going to back out. If you back out during a Crucible fight, you only get 3 attempts. This could completely disqualify you from clearing the room. So why don't you walk us through what our objective is here, what team we're using, and why this is going to work for us.
So our primary objective is to pull abilities from the Illuminati members, mainly Black Panther Shuri, Hank Pym, and Captain Britain. The secondary objective, if you can get that done, is to use your Moondragon to try to one-shot the enemy Captain Britain with her special. And then you have Gamora and other members putting vulnerables on her so the isolate attack has a chance to kill him. But it's not the primary objective. The main goal here is to pull abilities from the important members so that without the abilities, they're much weaker on the second and possibly third attack that you can actually beat this team. Because right now, our goal is to clear this room, not to one-shot it.
Right, and in this situation, which you're showing me right here, which is footage from you, we are using Echo here as opposed to the Captain, or sorry, the Guardian version that we had shown in the slide, right? And that's a team that's been going around. Why don't you walk us through the benefits of Echo here and how she's helping us accomplish our objective?
Right. Against the Black Bolt and Odin, Echo is safer so that you are more guaranteed to get through to survive until the point you want to survive to pull their abilities. Without Echo, Odin will assist and he will get the battlefield effect up. Whereas if you have Echo, there's a good chance that Echo survives and Odin doesn't get the battlefield effect because he needs to assist. Echo also reduces the damage you take on the first 3 turns because he's not assisting for those as well. And just in general, it makes it more likely that you'll be able to pull the abilities you want to. Now,
Okay.
the Guardian version is more offensive based. It reduces the chance that you get to pull the abilities, but you have a higher chance of one-shotting the Captain Britain. It is a much more riskier approach, in my opinion, and I would only use it if there is no Black Bolt, just because the Black Bolt, otherwise, the permakills really cause a huge problem.
Yeah, and that extra life that Blackwell gives the Illuminati members makes it nearly impossible. As you see here, this is my footage now. We have a completely maxed out Moondragon. We're talking purple 3 striker. We're talking gear 219, level 100, up against a 1 diamond Captain Britain. Gets him to about 1 life. So if there's any sort of 2 diamond, 3 diamond situation going on for that Captain Britain, you're just never going to get that done. So I tend to agree with you that although the Guardian version is nice, if there's no Black Bolt to snipe it out, because it's going to increase our odds. We're going to see in a couple slide situations. Um, the Echo version just seems to be the safer bet to make sure you're actually clearing your enemy. So I would definitely agree with you there. So why don't we talk about the scenarios that you can find yourself in? So we have number one, Captain Britain died and Odin has 0 charges. What's your recommended team for that?
So if Captain Britain died and Odin has no charges, you can use pure Superior 6 to clean up if and only if there was a free taunt in the initial team.
Yes.
And the idea there is because Hank Pym's passive prevents slows on all hero allies, but he needs to have 2 Illuminati members. And if there were only 3 to begin with, and we snipe Captain Britain, there's now no longer that passive active, and Superior 6 Vulture will be able to put slow on Odin on spawn, and you will be able to basically kill him and the rest of the team before he even gets to his turn.
That's right, guys. So the whole idea there is that Hank Pym cannot have two other Illuminati allies that'll stop the part of his passive giving heroes the unability. They cannot gain slow. We have a situation.
Immunity to
Immunity slow. Thank you. Yeah. Situation number 2. Catherine Britain died, but Odin does have charges. Does it matter how many charges? And what's our situation here? What do we need to make sure we accomplish?
Captain Britain died and Odin has two or one charge, then you would probably still be able to stack this one more time and clean up using what we're about to show you in the next slide. Now, if somehow and usually what happens if Captain Britain dies is that you've survived long enough to pull off at least three charges of Odin. I've never had Odin have more than two charges in all of my experience here. So I didn't even write that as a possibility because it's never happened. Because every time you take a turn, Odin loses a charge.
Yeah.
And to be able to kill Captain Britain, you must have taken at least two or three turns, right? So I've never had it happen where I kill Captain Britain and Odin still has three or four or five charges. I don't think it's possible.
Right. So in that situation, you think Superior 6 with Apocalypse can get it done, right? But there is a specific turn order if Odin
Right.
has one charge, I believe you said.
If Odin has one charge, you could try to clean up with Superior 6 Apocalypse right away, but you need to have Slayer and Craven for your three members of Superior 6. But if Odin has two charges, that doesn't become consistent enough to the point where I recommend it. What I recommend in that case is to just sack it and then clean up with what we're about to show you here.
Yes, so that'll lead us to our third situation here. Captain Britain not dead, and say we have a fortifier Odin with two or fewer charges. Now we're talking about a new tech we got here. We're using Black Widow and Red Guardian are coming in, and that'll be able to do another sack. So we see here the same footage we just watched. We got the pause off as soon as Captain Britain did his special, and then we're going to head on into another sack, and this one's pretty interesting. So we're going to be using Black Widow, Red Guardian. Here you get the Binding Vendors. I don't think they're doing anything, right? It's just the Black
Yeah, they're
Widow.
not relevant, just the two members.
Yeah. And so why does this work?
And it works because if Odin has two charges, and you want him to start with ult, because the whole point here is we're trying to get Odin to start with his ultimate on the final attack.
Mm-hmm.
If he has two charges, there's a chance he goes first and does the basic, and then it doesn't work. So what Black Widow stack does is because Black Widow is one of the only characters in the game that is faster than Black Panther's Fury in Cosmic Crucible, she actually has 135 speed, and Red Guardian gives her speed up on spawn. And because she's a hero, she can get that. So she is able to go before Black Panther's 30, take a turn, which reduces Odin's charge by one because of his passive, and without giving Black Panther's 30 any energy in the process. Remember, we sack two of her abilities. She's starting with basic. We don't want to give her another turn so she can go back to starting with special, because if she starts with special, that makes a Superior 6 cleanup impossible because she will ability block your Green Goblin Classic.
Yeah, so that's very, very important, guys. The goal: pull abilities up to Panther's second turn, never her third turn. You never want the Black Panther Shuri to then be using her special because that'll absolutely just demolish your Green Goblin. So once we have done our Black Widow, Red Guardian burn attack, we've let it timed out after 5 minutes. We're then able to hit it with a different sort of teams, right? So this is if Odin is a fortifier, we have Apocalypse, we have Slayer, and we have Craven, like you talked about, with, of course, Vulture to take the speed up off the enemy team. And then we have our Goblins. So this is against the fortifier version, and you think this one is a lot safer than if we have, say, Raider or Striker, extra damage on the Odin, right?
Right, because as you see there, Black Panther Shuri still goes first, and she does a basic, and that's random where it goes. If that basic had gone to Green Goblin Classic, and Odin gets to ult before Green Goblin Classic, which is a 50-50,
Mm-hmm.
there's a chance that he dies before he gets to his ult.
Yeah.
Here you can see there's not much damage done, but as a Raider Odin, especially if there's also a Black Bolt on the enemy team with the pings, and you're a tech villains, those pings do a lot of damage, so Odin's ultimate, if it crits, it can cause big problems for you here. Recommended is Fortifier Odin only.
Right, right. And so what we had is we had our Green Goblin as a Raider. Now this is also very important to make sure you have that Slayer, because if the Odin goes first and puts blind on your Goblin, Slayer allows a blinded goblin to actually land his ultimate regardless, and we need that goblin as a raider, right? Because you identified a very interesting interaction between Apocalypse and Odin in this matchup, which, if things go south, this is going to be really important to make sure you get ahead of the Odin second turn. Why don't you talk to us about that?
Right. So the whole idea here is you ult with APOC and then you get your Empower Punch naturally through natural turn meter means before Odin takes a second turn. And the only way to do that is if you get the isolate attack. Remember, the APOC ultimate clears all barrier. So at this point, if you look at the video here, it's clear that Black Panther's 3 will die to this. So so APOC will be able to get speed up at that point. So what you want to do here is target the highest health enemy who has a vulnerable to make sure you get the ISO 8 attack so he can get speed up. Without that, Odin will get to his second turn before you do.
Right, because if Odin gets to his second attack, well, obviously the battlefield effect is in play, and he's pretty much invincible from there on, right?
I've seen Odin do insane 1v5s when his battlefield effect up, and you definitely do not want to be in that situation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, we have other situations to talk about here. So Captain Britain not dead, and he's a raider or striker, and Odin has 2 or fewer charges. You identified another really interesting secondary sack team. Why don't you talk us through what the Astral Dorm team is doing on this second attack for us?
Uh, so if things go badly or against a Raider Odin, in which case the third attack with Superior Six Vulture and Apocalypse is not reliable enough to for me to recommend, you can do an Astral Dorm second attack, and the goal there is to try to kill one of three characters, either Hank Pym, Fury, or Captain Britain. Depending on the positioning, depending on RNG, you can try to focus down the lowest one. As long as you kill one of those three, the final attack is very easily doable because they're missing a critical part of their kit. Either you can get turn meter, or you can get speed up, or they can get slow. Any one of those three possibilities being available for the final attack will make it very easy to do.
Right. And so that's exactly what we're seeing here. We're seeing the new stat Astral team with the dorm to make sure that they can revive if they're not dying to say Black Bolt, who does change this, and we do have footage of that. They're able to kind of abuse their new stats and really lay a hurting on the enemy team and snipe out a quick kill, which is really nice, right? And so
Yeah,
that'll
new
lead,
stat characters
yeah,
are definitely very good here.
yeah, and that'll lead to, well, I guess you don't even show it. It's just an easy cleanup. And you were telling me, we laughed about this. Who did you bring in to kill the Odin after this?
New Warriors
Yeah,
against a lone Odin. That's double stack. New Warriors will do the job.
still meta, still meta. So in this situation, we have the Black Bolt. Now we'll talk about the difference between Pre-Taunt and Black Bolt Illuminati in a second here. But it caused you a lot of problems on the first attack because Black Bolt was getting kills, perma kills on the people with revives, and also just doing extra damage as opposed to Pre-Taunts to do nothing. And then against the Astral team, that extra life from Black Bolt kind of stopped you from sniping anybody else out too, right?
Yeah, the first attack went bad. You can see Odin got the battlefield effect up on the first attack because Echo died before Odin got to his special, and he did end up getting assist anyway. And so I was able to pull Captain Britain's special, which is important here because the special removes revive once. And as you're about to see, I lose that revive once very quickly. And without revive once, this team, especially without um, Strange being slowed and being able to do his ultimate, this team kind of falls apart. Um, and it's not a guarantee. You're just trying to kill at least one of those three, but even then, it's not. It can go wrong as well. And so in that case, you're going to end up going into the third attack with a more of a Hail Mary approach.
Yeah, and luckily for us, I mean that team is now we can get them from the Ultimate Store and from the Battle World Store, and that is going to be our Nightstalkers, right? Again, just the new stats really kind of shining through against what these old teams can do. So why don't you talk to us about why the Nightstalkers can work here and what situations you're going to want to use them in?
If all else fails, if you don't have Superior 6 Vulture APOC available for whatever reason, if, for example, Shuri has her special turn one, so you can't use Superior 6, Night Stalker is probably like your fallback option here. And Night Stalkers are just a new stat team with high base speed stats, right? That they're going before Odin on their merit of their speed alone. And if they get slowed by Shuri, Blade passive will be able to flip it.
Yeah,
So here, Blade actually has offense up because Captain Britain's passive puts that offense down, and Blade will flip that as well potentially. And combined with just new stat double stack and you going before Odin, you have a pretty good chance of just focusing down to Odin before he is able to take a turn.
Right. And this is a cascading effect, right? So because there's no pre-taunt here, you're able to attack the Odin because you don't have to worry about any taunt coming in. If there was
Right,
a pre-taunt, then there's no Black Bolt, and your Astral team is more likely to be able to snipe somebody out. So it's important to know which
exactly.
situation you're in.
Yes. If there is no pre-taunt, the first sack and the astral attack becomes harder. But if there was a pre-taunt, then there's a good chance that you get through it with Infinity Watch, sack, and then maybe even Astral Dorm on a second attack.
Yeah.
So either way, you have an option available to you.
Yeah, and let's quickly talk about your positioning here. So you very strategically have Moon Knight beside Man Thing here because you knew Shuri was going to do the basic. That's going to do a slow. So you made sure it hit the Moon Knight because what? He's the slowest character, and if he dies, he's the least impactful on the team, I assume.
That is one reason, yes, but also that um, all the members of Nightstalkers, the Blade, the Oath, the Agatha, with Man-Thing's passive, they have higher speed stat than Odin, so they're all going to go
Uh,
before Odin, even with speed up. But Moon Knight is the one character who probably doesn't, and he needs that speed up, getting flipped from slow from Shuri's basic. So that does allow him to go before the Odin. And in here, I actually did end up needing his damage, though you might not if you have a bigger blade or a bigger oath. I believe this was with a 6 red blade and a 6 red oath. So if you have diamonds, this is probably even easier.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Now that those are farmable farmable. Now that you can get them out of the Battle World store and the Ultimate Store guys, definitely recommend that. So those are your situations. Let's talk about a couple variants here that we kind of touched on, but just drive it home. So some of the issues, Black Bolt gives Illuminati members extra life and permakills. This makes it much less likely that you're going to be able to snipe out an enemy Captain Britain, because if you do snipe out that Captain Britain, really easy to deal with. Now, the pre-taunt actually prevents the one-shot Odin mirror matches, which is something we'll touch on here. I have a feeling about it. I think Saw Owner agrees with me. Which one of these versions do you think is the tougher team to deal with, and which do you recommend people put on defense?
I always love it when I see a pre-taunt with Illuminati Odin because I know it's going to be an easier time for me. I have my Odin on defense, and for me, with Odin on defense, it's a much easier time to have a pre-taunt than a Black Bolt. Black Bolt makes it much, much worse. He gives it the much more longevity, and he also provides lethality. The permakill is very annoying as well.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. So then that leads us to the next question. There is a way to one-shot that team. There is a way to one-shot Odin Illuminati. It includes Odin, or it includes Mephisto, and the following four characters: Nightcrawler, Vulture, Slayer, and Goblin. Now I do have footage of this. I hesitate to show this because there are so many variables that go on here, and there's also kind of a rock paper scissors you were talking about to me earlier about between Odin Fortifier, Odin Raider, which side of the field it's on, and then we have turn order RNG as well because the Goblin shares speed bar with Odin. Who's going to go first? Because that has a lot of implications we'll talk about. Do you recommend if somebody's super frustrated to go for the one shot, or in my opinion, that just puts so much pressure for you on the offense to perform to get the right RNG, and you're just taking all the responsibility at that point. What do you think about Odin offense, Odin defense, or Mephisto offense, Mephisto defense?
I think that if you put Odin or even Mephisto on offense, you're giving your opponents a much easier time against your defense, right? And you're putting much more pressure on yourself to be able to do the mirror match or the Mephisto into Odin match, both
Mm-hmm.
of which are not easy matchups by any means.
Yeah,
I myself, I'm a pretty good player, and I don't even like doing those matches. So, it's definitely RNG or high risk matches that you don't want to take because your opponent's not going to have to take the same risk.
yeah, yeah. I agree 100%. Like right here, the reason I'm going to win this matchup, even though the enemy Odin is Fortifier and mine is Raider, is because as you see here, my Goblin won the coin flip, went before my Odin. So he ults, he strips the charges off of Shuri, which allows my Odin to do an assist, which then allows me to do Odin special. And from there, I'm able to take the lead. If I don't win that coin flip, I probably end up losing this or timing out on it. As when we go to Odin v Odin and the never-ending cycle, I probably just die, and then I have to do a third attack to clean up. Whereas you showed me this, and I got really mad about it. Uh, if I have my Odin on offense, I don't have him on defense, and so it leaves room for this. We have Infinity Watch with Guardian up against Illuminati with, say, a Preton, Juggernaut, Sasquatch, Drax, whatever the case may be, right? I've
Yeah, I
tried
did
this
this
matchup.
last week,
Go ahead.
and it was a bit of RNG, but I've also heard that many people have also replicated this as well.
Mhm.
So it's definitely not something that's impossible by any means, or just very, very unlikely. If you put full Illuminati, or sorry, in this case, Illuminati with a Preton on defense, and it's Zog's a special Preton because you need a chargeable character, otherwise, Superior 6, Oh Man Logan can also one-shot a full Illuminati, just to keep everyone, make sure they remember that part,
Yeah.
because I think that was a thing in the past couple seasons, and now I think people may have forgotten. The reason why we have a Zug here is so that Superior 6 Omen Logan doesn't one-shot this. But even with the Zugs here, with the right RNG, with the CB snipe, and I did pause here for a bit because I was like, should I keep going or should I just not let her get to her third turn? But I figured that, at this point, even if she gets to extra energy, I should be able to clean up very easily. And I actually end up just one-shotting this with Infinity Watch of all teams. And kind of crazy that just an old 3-year-old team is able to one-shot a, premier um, Cosmic Crucible team, but it's all due to Moondragon. Moondragon has buff stats, and she gets buffs from Infinity Watch. She gets 30% more damage, more crit damage, and more health, which increases her strike or ISO attack damage. So she's just able to kill Captain Britain, then her ultimate kills Hank, and then the team just falls apart. So
Yeah.
very interesting thing you can do.
I can't tell you how mad I would be if I had that on defense and I saw Moondragon solo the whole damn team. I'd be so mad. Okay. Then there's another option, right? There's you pull off your Mephisto, you do the same team we showed with Odin. I don't have footage of that, sadly. But then you're also losing your Mephisto from defense. Now, there's a really, really particular team right now in Crucible with Kahori and Endgame Thanos, which can allow for your Mephisto to ult turn one on defense. And that is absolutely nightmarish for the enemy. And so I think you'd agree with me. Pulling Mephisto off defense is also just giving your opponent such an easier time to deal with that more than likely than not, you're going to run into an RNG bump. You're going to have to take one additional loss, and your opponent just isn't going to have to against your teams, right?
Absolutely. And using Mephisto on offense is not an easy thing. There are a lot of ins and outs that you have to know whether to use this pack, which pack to use.
Yeah.
Oftentimes a pre-taunt can really throw it off. Like I've had people try to use Mephisto on offense to beat Illuminati Black Knight, not even Odin, and they can't even do that, right? It's
Yeah.
definitely not an easy thing, especially if there's a pre-taunt. So, and you don't know what you're going to face before you face this. So if you put Mephisto on offense, you're kind of hoping that your opponent doesn't have to pre-taunt with their Odin, but they might, and you might just lose because of randomness.
Yeah. And that's never fun. That is one way to definitely tilt yourself off the planet, off Crucible, and maybe off Marvel Strike Force, which, I mean, that's what we don't want. So I think this slide here is going to be the most informative for you guys. So this is where you don't kill Captain Britain, the additional sack teams you could use, various options that you can try, and just make sure you rewatch the footage Saw Owner shared with us. Make sure you check out Saw Owner on Twitch when he's doing his thing so you can see this all live in action. And thank you very much for sharing all your information with us. Hopefully, this leads to a lot less frustration with people facing off against Odin Illuminati. And hey, why don't we speculate real quick on what would actually have to come to the game to beat Odin Illuminati, right? Because Odin Illuminati have speed up on spawn. You can't get speed bar. Speed stat cannot be manipulated because they didn't like how we found a way to beat them with old Emma. Uh, Villains cannot gain speed up and heroes cannot gain slow, which essentially means, I think, the next Crucible team might just come as a hero team with speed up on spawn and higher speed stat than the Illuminati team. What do you think is going to have to come to one shot the Odin Illuminati team reliably to shake up Crucible?
I think it would have to be a team that is, as you said, hero based, or that doesn't need speed up on spawn. Maybe they just have a lot of ability, like kind of like out of time in war. Maybe for that
Ooh,
equivalent in CC, where they just tank all your abilities, but they have a debuff to you before they take a turn, and now that you used everything, they delete you with new stats. Maybe that's a team that could be, cool to have in CC as well. I really do like the out of time in war, but I think something in CC wouldn't be too crazy as well.
yeah, I mean Odin would get his battlefield effect up though, right? If they had to sit there and take the beating, so then I think Odin would probably destroy
Maybe
them.
prevent assist as well, I guess. I don't know.
Ooh,
Um,
now we're talking. There we go. We
yeah,
did it.
yeah,
Salvador did it. All right, Scopely get to work. Make us a team that could beat these guys so you don't have to get frustrated. But for now, guys, using information Salvador provided us for us today, thank you so much for doing that. Again, hopefully it alleviates some frustration. But for now, from me and
Absolutely.
Sauter, yeah. But for now, guys, from me and Sauter, stay happy, stay healthy, have fun. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.